Ethan had always loved the vibrant energy of San Francisco, but on this particular Friday evening, he felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the city, yet all he could think about was the throbbing pain in his back. It had been a long week filled with tight deadlines and endless revisions for his graphic design projects. As he parked his car and stepped out, he winced at the sharp twinge that shot through him. Entering his cozy apartment, Ethan was greeted by the familiar scent of freshly baked cookies, a treat Liam had made earlier that day. His son, Liam, was a whirlwind of creativity and energy, always finding ways to brighten their home. At 20 years old, Liam was pursuing his passion for film at university, and Ethan couldn't have been prouder. Their relationship was built on mutual respect and love, but lately, Ethan sensed something deeper brewing beneath the surface. "Hey, Dad, how was work?" Liam called out from the kitchen, his voice filled with youthful enthusiasm. "Long and exhausting," Ethan replied with a weary smile as he dropped his bag by the door. "I think I might have overdone it this week." Liam appeared in the doorway, wiping flour from his hands onto a dish towel. His bright blue eyes sparkled with concern. "You should take it easy. Want me to help with that?" Ethan chuckled lightly, appreciating Liam's eagerness to care for him. "I could definitely use a massage. My back is killing me." "Perfect. Come on, let's get you sorted," Liam said, leading Ethan to the living room where soft music played in the background. The atmosphere felt warm and inviting, filled with memories of laughter and shared moments. Ethan settled onto the couch, lying face down as Liam positioned himself behind him. He felt a mix of relaxation and anticipation. It was comforting to be cared for by his son. As Liam's hands began to work on his back, Ethan closed his eyes and let out a deep sigh. Liam's fingers pressed into Ethan's tense muscles with surprising skill. "You really need to take better care of yourself," he remarked lightly, trying to ease the tension in the room as much as in his father's body. "I know," Ethan admitted, feeling the stress of the week slowly melt away under Liam's touch. "It's just hard sometimes to balance everything." They chatted about mundane things, school projects, upcoming film festivals, and Ethan found solace in their conversation. It reminded him of simpler times when Liam was younger and they would spend hours talking about dreams and adventures. As Liam continued to massage Ethan's back, there was an undeniable shift in the air. The atmosphere grew heavier with unspoken words and emotions that lingered just below the surface. Ethan felt something stirring within him. It was more than just gratitude for Liam's kindness. There was an intimacy in this moment that he hadn't anticipated. "Dad," Liam said softly after a while, pausing for a moment as if weighing his words carefully. "Do you ever feel like there are things we don't talk about? Things that are just there?" Ethan's heart raced at the unexpected depth of Liam's question. He opened his eyes and turned slightly to look at him. "What do you mean?" he asked gently. "I don't know," Liam replied hesitantly, his fingers stilling on Ethan's back. "Sometimes I feel like we're closer than most fathers and sons, like there's something more between us." Ethan swallowed hard at those words. They hung in the air like a fragile thread waiting to snap or strengthen their bond further. He wanted to respond but found himself at a loss for words. "Maybe it's just me," Liam added quickly, breaking eye contact as if embarrassed by what he had just said. "No," Ethan said firmly, feeling a surge of emotion rise within him. "You're not alone in feeling that way." He took a deep breath, realizing that this moment could change everything between them. The air around them crackled with tension as they both processed what had been said. Ethan felt vulnerable yet strangely liberated by their honesty. He had always loved Liam deeply, more than words could express, but now he recognized that love had taken on new dimensions. "Let's just enjoy this moment for now," Ethan suggested softly, trying to ease any discomfort that lingered between them. Liam nodded slowly, resuming the massage as they both settled into an uncharted territory of emotions, one filled with both uncertainty and promise. As they continued to explore this newfound connection through gentle touches and shared glances, Ethan couldn't shake off the feeling that tonight would mark a turning point in their relationship, a moment where love would redefine itself in ways they had yet to understand. The next evening, the soft glow of the setting sun filtered through the curtains, casting a warm light across the living room. "I had spent the day trying to shake off the lingering tension from our last conversation. Liam had gone out with friends, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I replayed our dialogue in my mind, the weight of his words echoing in my heart. When Liam returned home, he carried an air of excitement with him, a stark contrast to my introspection. "Dad, you won't believe what happened at the film club today," he exclaimed as he burst through the door, his energy infectious. "What's up?" I asked, trying to match his enthusiasm while still feeling a bit heavy inside. "We watched this incredible short film about family dynamics and how love can take unexpected forms," he said, his eyes sparkling with passion. "It made me think of us and how stories can really connect people." I nodded, appreciating his enthusiasm but also feeling a pang of anxiety. "That sounds interesting," I replied, hoping to engage without diving back into our previous conversation. Liam plopped down on the couch beside me, his excitement palpable. "You should have seen it. The way they portrayed the relationship between the characters, it was so raw and real. It really got me thinking about how we express love in different ways." "Love is complicated," I said thoughtfully, glancing at him. "It can be beautiful but also messy." "Exactly," he said, leaning forward. "That's what makes it so powerful." He paused for a moment, then added cautiously, "Do you think it's possible for love to exist in different forms? Like between family members?" I felt my heart race again at his question. "Of course," I replied carefully. "Love can be multifaceted. It can change and evolve over time." Liam studied me for a moment, as if weighing my words. "What if that love is more than just familial?" His voice was low, almost hesitant. The air grew thick with tension once more. I could see that he was grappling with something deep inside him, something that mirrored my own struggles. "Liam," I began slowly, searching for the right words. "What we talked about, it's not something to take lightly." "I know," he said quickly, his eyes earnest. "But I can't help how I feel." I took a deep breath, feeling both protective and vulnerable at that moment. "Neither can I admitted quietly. We sat in silence for what felt like an eternity, both of us wrestling with emotions that were becoming harder to ignore. Finally, I broke the silence. "Maybe we should explore this together, carefully." Liam's face lit up with a mix of relief and excitement. "Really? You mean that?" "Yes," I replied firmly but gently. "But we need to be honest and open with each other about everything, our feelings and any consequences that might come from them." "Agreed," he said, nodding vigorously. "I want us to be able to talk about anything." With that understanding hanging between us like a fragile thread, Liam leaned back against the couch and let out a contented sigh. "I'm glad we're having this conversation." As we continued to talk about our feelings, about love and connection, I felt a sense of liberation wash over me. It was as if we were peeling away layers of misunderstanding and fear, revealing something beautiful underneath. Later that evening, as we settled down to watch a movie together, a classic Liam had insisted on, I couldn't help but feel an undercurrent of excitement mixed with apprehension. The film played on the screen, but my mind was elsewhere, caught up in thoughts of what lay ahead for us. During a particularly emotional scene in the movie, Liam turned to me and whispered, "You know, Dad, this reminds me of how we've been talking, how sometimes love is just about being there for each other." I smiled at him, grateful for his insight and understanding. "You're right," I said softly. As the credits rolled and the room filled with silence again, I realized that this journey we were embarking on together was going to be one filled with challenges but also immense growth and understanding. "Let's keep talking," Liam suggested as he turned off the TV. "Definitely," I replied with a sense of resolve. That night marked another turning point for us, a step deeper into uncharted territory where love could blossom in ways we had yet to fully comprehend. The following week unfolded with an unexpected blend of excitement and apprehension. Each day felt like a delicate dance between the familiar rhythms of our lives and the new, uncharted territory we were navigating together. I found myself constantly aware of Liam's presence, the way he moved through the apartment, his laughter echoing in the hallways, and the warmth of his gaze that seemed to linger just a moment longer than usual. One evening, I returned home to find Liam sprawled on the couch, surrounded by a mess of film scripts and notes. He looked up as I entered, his face lighting up with that infectious enthusiasm I loved so much. "Dad, you have to see this scene I'm working on," he said, motioning for me to join him. I settled beside him, curious about what had captured his imagination this time. "What's it about?" I asked, leaning in as he began to explain. It's about two people who realize their love for each other in a way they never expected, he said, his eyes sparkling with passion. They've been friends forever, but then something shifts, and they have to confront their feelings. As he spoke, I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. The parallels between his story and our own situation were impossible to ignore. That sounds intriguing, I replied cautiously, trying to keep my tone neutral. Liam continued, oblivious to my internal struggle. I want to capture that moment when everything changes, the tension, the fear, but also the excitement of discovering something new. He paused and looked at me intently. Do you think that's realistic? Absolutely, I said, forcing a smile. Love can be complicated like that. It often comes when you least expect it. He nodded, clearly deep in thought. I just want it to feel real, like how we've been feeling lately. His voice was soft yet steady. My heart raced at his words. It was as if he was inviting me deeper into this exploration we had begun together. Liam, I started slowly, choosing my words carefully. What if we tried to explore those feelings more openly? Together. His eyes widened slightly with surprise and excitement. You mean like, really talk about it? What we feel? Yes, I said firmly but gently. We've opened this door, it might be worth seeing where it leads. Liam's expression shifted from surprise to determination. Okay, he said, taking a deep breath as if preparing for a leap into the unknown. Let's do it. We spent the next few hours discussing everything, our fears, our hopes, and what this new dynamic meant for us both. It felt liberating to share these thoughts openly, each word brought us closer together. As night fell and darkness enveloped the city outside, Liam suggested we take a walk to clear our heads. The cool evening air felt refreshing against my skin as we strolled through the quiet streets of our neighborhood. The city lights twinkled like stars above us, creating a magical backdrop for our conversation. Do you think people will understand? Liam asked suddenly as we walked side by side. Understand what? I replied softly. What we're feeling, this connection between us, he clarified, glancing up at me with uncertainty in his eyes. I think love is often misunderstood, I said thoughtfully. People may not always see beyond their own perceptions or societal norms. But what matters most is how we feel about each other. Liam nodded slowly, absorbing my words. We walked in comfortable silence for a moment before he spoke again. I just don't want anything to change between us if people don't accept it. Change is inevitable, I said gently. But that doesn't mean it has to be bad. We can face whatever comes together. His expression softened at my reassurance, and for a moment, everything felt right in the world. We stopped at a small park where the moonlight illuminated the trees around us. Liam turned to me, his gaze serious yet filled with warmth. Dad, he began hesitantly, I know this is all new and maybe even scary, but I want you to know that no matter what happens, you're still my dad, and I love you. Emotion welled up in my chest at his words, they were both grounding and freeing at once. And I love you too, Liam, I replied earnestly. No matter what form that love takes. In that moment under the stars, surrounded by the quiet beauty of the night, we stood on the brink of something profound, a bond that transcended traditional boundaries and embraced a deeper understanding of love. As we made our way back home hand in hand, a simple gesture that felt monumental, I realized that this journey was not just about exploring our feelings but also about redefining what family meant for us. The days that followed our walk in the park were filled with a mix of exhilaration and uncertainty. Each morning, I woke up with a sense of anticipation, but as the day wore on, I found myself grappling with the implications of what we had begun to explore. The tension between us was palpable, a delicate balance of excitement and fear that seemed to hang in the air. One evening, after dinner, I found myself in the living room, scrolling through my phone while Liam worked on his laptop at the dining table. The familiar sounds of typing filled the space, but my mind was elsewhere, lost in thought. I could feel the weight of our last conversation pressing down on me, and I knew we needed to address it again. Liam, I called softly, breaking the silence. He looked up from his screen, curiosity etched on his face. Can we talk? Sure, he replied, closing his laptop and turning his full attention to me. What's on your mind? I took a deep breath, trying to organize my thoughts. I've been thinking about what we discussed, about our feelings and what it means for us moving forward. His expression shifted slightly, a mix of eagerness and apprehension. Yeah, me too. I want to make sure we're both on the same page, I said carefully. This is all new territory for us, and it's important that we navigate it together. Liam nodded, his eyes focused on mine. I agree. It feels like everything has changed since we started talking about this. It has, I acknowledged. And while I'm excited about where this could lead us, I also worry about how it might affect our relationship, how others might perceive it. Do you think we should keep it a secret? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I hesitated. I don't want to hide who we are or how we feel. But at the same time, I think we need to be cautious. People can be judgmental. Liam sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair in frustration. It's just so unfair. Why should love come with conditions or expectations? I know, I said gently, feeling the weight of his frustration echo my own. Love shouldn't be confined by societal norms, but unfortunately, that's often how it is. He leaned back in his chair, contemplating my words. So what do we do? Just pretend everything is normal? No, I replied firmly. We don't have to pretend anything. We can be ourselves, we just need to be mindful of how we approach it. Liam's gaze softened as he considered my words. I just don't want to lose what we have. You won't, I assured him. Our bond is strong enough to withstand this if we're honest with each other and ourselves. With that reassurance hanging in the air between us, Liam stood up and walked over to where I sat on the couch. He took a seat beside me, our shoulders brushing against each other, a simple gesture that sent a jolt of electricity through me. Can I ask you something? He said hesitantly. Of course, I replied. What if this turns into something more? His voice trembled slightly as he spoke. The question hung in the air like a fragile thread waiting to snap or strengthen our connection further. My heart raced at the possibility he was suggesting, an idea that both thrilled and terrified me. I think it could, I admitted slowly. But we need to take things one step at a time. Liam nodded thoughtfully, his expression serious yet hopeful. I want to explore that possibility with you, if you're open to it. I am, I said softly, feeling a wave of warmth wash over me at his words. In that moment of shared understanding, something shifted between us, a recognition that whatever lay ahead would be navigated together with honesty and care. As the evening wore on, we talked more openly about our feelings, the excitement mingled with fear as we acknowledged what this new chapter could mean for us both. We shared stories about love and connection from books and films that had shaped our understanding of relationships. Eventually, our conversation turned lighter as Liam began recounting funny anecdotes from his film classes. His impressions of eccentric professors and quirky classmates made me laugh until my sides hurt. It felt good to share those moments of joy amidst the weighty discussions we'd been having. Later that night, as Liam prepared for bed, I couldn't shake off the feeling that we were standing at the precipice of something beautiful yet complex, a journey filled with potential pitfalls but also immense rewards. As I lay in bed that night, staring up at the ceiling, I realized that whatever challenges lay ahead would be worth facing if it meant exploring this new dimension of love with Liam by my side. The following week brought with it a mix of excitement and trepidation. Liam and I had spent more time together, deepening our connection through late-night conversations and shared moments that felt charged with possibility. Yet, beneath the surface, I could sense an undercurrent of anxiety, an awareness that we were stepping into uncharted territory. One evening, as I prepared dinner, I heard Liam's footsteps approaching. He entered the kitchen with a determined look on his face, his brow slightly furrowed. "Dad, can we talk?" he asked, his tone serious. "Of course," I replied, setting down the knife I had been using to chop vegetables. "What's on your mind?" Liam took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about how we feel and what it means for our future." I felt my heart race at his words. "And I want to be open about this," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "But I'm also scared about how people will react if they find out." I nodded, understanding the weight of his concerns. It's a valid fear. Society doesn't always accept unconventional relationships. He looked down at the floor for a moment before meeting my gaze again. "What if we face backlash? What if people don't understand? Then we deal with it together," I said firmly. "We can't control how others react, but we can control how we respond." Liam seemed to absorb my words, his expression softening slightly. "You're right. I just don't want to lose what we have because of what others think." We won't lose anything if we stay true to ourselves, I reassured him. Our bond is strong enough to withstand outside pressures. He smiled faintly, but I could see the worry still lingering in his eyes. I just wish it could be simpler. Life rarely is, I replied with a gentle chuckle. But that doesn't mean it isn't worth pursuing. As we continued preparing dinner together, the atmosphere shifted from one of anxiety to comfort. We joked about our culinary skills, or lack thereof, and shared stories about our day. The laughter helped ease the tension that had built up earlier. Later that evening, after dinner was cleaned up and the dishes were drying in the sink, Liam suggested we watch a movie, a romantic comedy he had been eager to see. As the film played on the screen, I found myself drawn into its lightheartedness, but my mind kept drifting back to our earlier conversation. During a particularly sweet scene where the characters confessed their feelings for each other, Liam turned to me with an intensity in his gaze that made my heart skip a beat. "Do you think it's possible for us to be happy like that?" he asked softly. I paused for a moment, considering his question carefully. "Happiness is always possible if we're willing to embrace who we are," I replied earnestly. He smiled at my response, and for a brief moment, everything felt right in the world. As the credits rolled and the room fell into silence once more, Liam leaned back against the couch and sighed contentedly. "Thanks for being so understanding," he said quietly. "Always," I assured him. "I'm here for you no matter what." Just then, my phone buzzed on the coffee table, a message from one of my friends inviting us to a gathering over the weekend. It was a casual get-together with some familiar faces from our circle. "Are you interested in going?" I asked Liam as I glanced at the message. He hesitated for a moment before responding. "I don't know, what if someone asks about us? About our relationship? Then we'll handle it together," I said confidently. "We can decide how much to share based on how comfortable we feel." Liam considered this for a moment before nodding slowly. "Okay, let's go then." As the weekend approached, I felt a mixture of excitement and anxiety building within me. The thought of being around friends while navigating our new dynamic was daunting but also exhilarating. The night of the gathering arrived quickly. As we entered the lively apartment filled with laughter and chatter, I felt Liam's hand slip into mine, a simple gesture that sent warmth coursing through me. We mingled with friends, sharing stories and laughter as if nothing had changed between us. But every now and then, I caught Liam glancing at me with uncertainty in his eyes, as if he was gauging how others perceived us. As the evening progressed, one of my friends approached us with a playful grin. "So, Ethan, how's life treating you? And Liam, still working on those film projects?" "Yeah," Liam replied enthusiastically, clearly relieved by the lightheartedness of the conversation. Just then, another friend chimed in teasingly, "You two seem closer than ever. What's your secret?" The question hung in the air like a fragile balloon ready to pop. My heart raced as I glanced at Liam. He looked equally startled but determined. "We've just been spending more time together," Liam said carefully, keeping his tone casual. "Ah, that's great," our friend responded without any hint of suspicion or judgment. As conversations flowed around us and laughter filled the room once more, I realized that perhaps this was what acceptance looked like, not just from others but also from ourselves. Later in the evening, as things began to wind down and guests started saying their goodbyes, Liam and I found ourselves standing together near the door. "That wasn't so bad," he said quietly, relief washing over his features. "No," I agreed with a smile. "In fact, it was nice." As we stepped outside into the cool night air together, our hands brushing against each other, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over me. We were navigating this journey side by side, ready to face whatever came next. The days following the gathering were a whirlwind of emotions. Liam and I had stepped into a new rhythm, one that felt both exhilarating and daunting. We had shared our feelings openly, faced the world together, and even managed to navigate the complexities of our relationship with a sense of unity. Yet, as much as I cherished our bond, I could sense an underlying tension brewing, an awareness that we hadn't fully explored the implications of our connection. One afternoon, as I sat at my desk working on a project, I heard Liam's footsteps approach. He leaned against the doorframe, a thoughtful expression on his face. "Dad, can we talk?" I turned in my chair, sensing the seriousness in his tone. "Of course. What's on your mind?" "I've been thinking about us, about how we've been feeling," he began, stepping into the room and closing the door behind him. And I think it's time we confront what this really means. I felt my heart race at his words. What do you mean? I mean, are we ready to define this relationship? To be more than just father and son? His voice was steady but laced with vulnerability. The question hung in the air, heavy with significance. I took a moment to gather my thoughts. That's a big step, Liam. It changes everything. I know, he replied earnestly. But I can't keep pretending that what we have is just a phase or something to hide. It feels real to me. It feels real to me too, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. But we have to consider the consequences, how it might affect our lives. Liam nodded, his expression serious. I understand that, but I also think we deserve to explore this openly. We shouldn't have to hide who we are. His words resonated deeply within me. The idea of embracing our connection fully was both thrilling and terrifying. You're right, I said finally. If we're going to do this, we need to be honest with ourselves and each other. Then let's take that step, he urged, his eyes shining with determination. I felt a surge of courage at his insistence. Okay, I agreed, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. Let's define what this means for us. As we talked further about what being open about our relationship would entail, I could sense the excitement building between us. We discussed how we would navigate conversations with friends and family, how we would approach the topic without fear. Later that evening, as we settled down for dinner, there was an air of anticipation around us. Each bite felt charged with possibility as we exchanged glances filled with unspoken understanding. After dinner, we decided to watch another movie, a romantic drama that Liam had been eager to see. As the story unfolded on screen, I found myself captivated not just by the film but by the way Liam reacted to it, his laughter, his gasps at moments of tension, and the way he leaned closer during emotional scenes. Halfway through the movie, there was a pivotal moment where the characters confessed their love for each other in front of their families, a scene filled with vulnerability and courage that mirrored our own journey. Liam turned to me with wide eyes as if seeking reassurance. What if it's like that for us? He asked softly. It could be, I replied gently. But remember, every journey is unique. We'll face our challenges in our own way. As the movie reached its climax and emotions ran high on screen, Liam reached for my hand, a simple gesture that sent warmth coursing through me. Our fingers intertwined naturally as if they belonged together. When the credits rolled and silence enveloped us once more, I turned to him and said quietly, I'm proud of us, for being brave enough to explore this together. Me too, he replied, squeezing my hand gently. In that moment of connection, everything felt right, the world outside faded away as we embraced this new chapter in our lives. As the days turned into weeks, we began to navigate our relationship more openly. We spent time with friends who were supportive and understanding, their acceptance made it easier for us to be ourselves without fear of judgment. However, there were still moments of uncertainty, times when doubt crept in or when external pressures threatened to shake our resolve. During those times, we leaned on each other for strength. One afternoon while walking through Golden Gate Park, Liam stopped suddenly and turned to me with a serious expression. Dad, what if someone finds out? What if they don't accept us? We can't control how others react, I said gently but firmly. What matters is how we feel about each other and how we choose to respond. He nodded slowly but still looked troubled. I just don't want anything to come between us. Nothing will come between us unless we allow it, I reassured him. As spring blossomed around us, flowers blooming and trees bursting with life, I felt an overwhelming sense of hope for our future together. One evening after dinner, as we sat on the balcony watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink, Liam turned to me with a contemplative look in his eyes. Dad, he said softly, I want you to know that no matter what happens or how challenging things get, you mean everything to me. Emotion welled up inside me at his words, they were both grounding and liberating all at once. And you mean everything to me too, I replied sincerely. In that moment under the fading light of day, surrounded by the beauty of nature and each other's presence, I realized that love was not just about navigating challenges but also about celebrating every small victory along the way. Together, we would continue this journey, embracing every twist and turn while holding onto each other tightly through it all.